Today's video will explain the interpreter design pattern. Hello, I'm James Helfrich. The interpreter design pattern is useful when you got to pass a command over a wire between two processes that do not share memory space. In other words, you got to serialize your command into a text stream or something similar. This video will define the interpreter design pattern, show how to implement it, and show a few examples. The interpreter design pattern is a methodology of sending commands between components through a shared language. The commander's intent is encoded in an order, and this order is written in their shared language, and the executor interprets the order into a collection of actions. Okay, so we have the commander, which originates the order, and then you have the executor, which carries it out. Now, in between them, there's going to be a shared interface, and the shared interface crucially contains a rich language as an order. Normally, it's text-based, but it could be something similar. Now, note the commander could have many different subcomponents inside of it, but it all goes through the same port and all gets sent into the same language, which the executor then interprets. Now, the important thing here is the commander must be able to generate the language, and the executor must be able to interpret the language. In other words, any change made to the language must include a code change to the commander as well as to the executor. All right, there are several types of orders with varying degrees of complexity. For an example, you could have a numerical order where I'm just going to encode each action as a number. Go 3, then 1, then 2, then 2, then 3, then 7, then 3. Now, of course, if I'm going to add a new number to my list here, the commander must be able to generate that number, and the executor must be able to know what that number means. I could have it textual. For an example, if I'm going to use a simple mail protocol, then this is a very simple textual one. HELO, hello, is a command. Mail from, that is actually just one command, even though it's two particular words. Receipt to, data, and quit. Now, we could also have a textual command with parameters, and this, for an example, is FTP. Open an IP address. This is ASCII, change directory, get, and exit. I can also have something that's parsed. In other words, I have to look at individual components and take it apart. The Smith notation in chess is an example of a parsed order. I can also use a data interchange format, XML and JSON. This is a JSON example. Here I have two orders. One is to accelerate and the second is to turn. And I can also put as many parameters in as I want. Now we can also make a very complex language, like a complex free grammar. And this is an example of SQL. Now, in each one of these cases here, it's important for me to generate a language which is appropriate for my context. Now, by itself, this is just a text file or a text stream. However, when that's interpreted as a command, then it becomes a command passing context. Okay, let's take a look at a concrete example. I want to play the game of chess, and I'm going to encode each order in Smith notation. So when I have a given order, a string for an example, and I want to interpret it, first of all, I'm going to go through and I'm going to parse the source and the destination. I'm going to figure out what the different capturing means and the different castling and en passant and the promotion. And each one of these textual letters is going to correspond to a part of my command. Of course, I can also generate an order. In this case, I want to turn my source and destination into a string. And then I want to say, hey, if I'm en passant or I'm a kingside castle or queenside castle or a capture or something like that. In this case, both my order generation with the coordinates and my order consumption with the coordinates, all this comes from my position class. And here's the code for me to generate a string from a row and column position right here, as well as to interpret a string from the row and column position as well. Now, of course, there's a lot more to the interpreter design pattern, and you can learn about that in the interpreter section of the command passing chapter of the software design textbook.